Couple more questions, yes, right there.
I'm just curious if you thought that the mayor's efforts with the new STEM university on Roosevelt Island, that's a situation where the city is investing $100 million and we're getting this new university and hypothetically 30,000 new jobs. And I'm wondering if you think that those types of solutions are our road out.
Well, I think that's a great thing for New York, no question about it. Not only because it produces jobs, but look at the public cost per job is not that significant. I could show you economic development projects around this state and other states where the cost for every incremental job was obscene and ridiculous. And there are too many giveaways in the names of economic development. And there's too many giveaways and costly giveaways when states provide subsidy to get Mr. X to move from the neighboring state to their own state. There used to be a federal program called UDAG, Urban Development Action Grants, and New Jersey used all their UDAG money to seduce businesses to move across the river. I mean, that's the most inefficient use of government money because it didn't do anything to the U.S. economy. It improved New Jersey's tax base to the detriment of New York's. I mean, we shouldn't have an economics or a tax system that does that. Yeah.
Eve?
Is the study that's going on of the plight of state and local governments, will there be any focus on the impact on the national economy? Because we hear nothing except about the housing sector and the great drag that justifiably has had on the national economy. But you don't read anything much in the papers or hear much political discussion of the negative impact of the state and local sector on the recovery. And as you never hear much explanation of why of the drag that's having on the national economy.
Well, I think it's only having a drag in the sense that one of the reasons unemployment has essentially been the same is because the number of losses in public employment have matched the pickup in private employment the last couple of years.
Gladys. Couple more after this, Gladys.
Following up on Evie's question, if you were writing the lead story for your report that is coming out in July, what would you highlight?
I would highlight the fact that the gap between healthcare costs and retirement obligations and revenues, state and local revenues, is widening every year and therefore is unsustainable.
Okay, just a couple more questions in the back row. Barrett?
Yes, a fundamental problem for me at the state all levels of government are the money changers who are corrupting our political system. How do you think we can start by reversing that?
What money, can you clarify that, Barrett?
Money changers.
Money changers?
In Congress, in our legislative process, in Albany, in Washington.
Well, unfortunately, you have a Supreme Court that has made it very difficult, even if there was a political will to change it, to modify it at this point. But I can tell you that the influence of Wall Street and the unions is overwhelming in politics in the United States. And you can only address that ultimately with public financing of elections, in my view.
One more question in the back there.
Could you just tease out a bit? You mentioned that if you speak to our congressman, we should ask him about state and local government. Specifically, what kind of questions?
Ask them whether they have, that what they are proposing or what they favor to address in the federal budget discussions, which will begin right after the November election, almost automatically, because nobody's going to let December 31st go by without trying to do something. What do they know the impact on their states and local governments, either on their revenues or their expenditures, in relation to the things they want to see happen to the federal budget? I mean, I talk to a lot of members of Congress, and, you know, they don't think in these terms. There's roughly $650 billion in the federal budget that is passed through to states and local governments, $650 billion. And most people on both sides of the aisle would acknowledge that that's the most vulnerable part of the federal budget to the cuts that are inexorable in the course of the next year. Nobody knows how much. That's going to be a function of what happens in the election in November, but that they're going to be cuts, there's no question about it. And the forces that want to preserve Medicare, Social Security, the defense budget, are far more powerful lobbies than the individual states are. And consequently, that's the part of the federal budget that's most vulnerable.
Okay, thank you so much.